Probably the longest case that ever ran in India was for 72 years, and that case was finally heard by a judge who was born after the case was filed. So I think there is a lot of catching up to do. We've had a very pointed, specific diagnosis and a very sharp set of recommendations, but does our dear friend Arghya agree with the same?
Ladies and gentlemen, it's a very sad day today. It's a sad day because despite this accurate diagnosis and prescription that Dr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi has laid out before you, I am deeply despondent if a leading member of the bar, a real jewel of the bar, stands before you today and says that our justice system has failed. Because if he and Ms. Grover, who are two leading lights of the Indian Supreme Court, cannot get justice from their brethren who are sitting as judges, then who are we to debate against this motion? It's a non-debate, ladies and gentlemen, as he himself put it. It is axiomatic. We cannot debate this motion. So, ladies and gentlemen, I cannot come before you today with a clean conscience and say that justice is demanded but also delivered. That ended for me the day when, as an 8-year-old, I watched Sunny Deol in Damini saying, "Insaf nahi mila, Lord, milord, sirf mila hai to mila hai tareekh." That's the day that any chance of getting justice ended. So, ladies and gentlemen, today we will say something more fundamentally against this motion, that justice is never demanded in the first place. Let us not fool ourselves into believing that we demand justice. What we demand is personal benefit. We demand vengeance. Maybe on the odd occasion it is justice, but not on the whole. This is not a new phenomenon. Let's go back to the first trial that happened in India. It's not very far away from here. The trial of Maharaja Nandakumar happened, which was presided over by Chief Justice Elijah Impey, who was the first Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Calcutta, prosecuted by Warren Hastings. Now, what did Hastings want from this trial? He didn't want justice. What he wanted was to get Nandakumar out of the way because he had been a wily zamindar who had been a thorn in the colonial flesh. What did the other people who were named in the will want? They wanted a bigger share in the pie, and so they wanted Nandakumar executed for forgery. Nobody wanted justice, ladies and gentlemen. They wanted personal benefit and they wanted vengeance. Fast forward 238 years to a cold winter day in Delhi when a young physiotherapist was left for dead by the side of the road after being brutally raped after she had gone to watch a movie, The Life of Pi, with her boyfriend. 6 people were caught. There was great public anger and anguish with Nirbhaya. What did people want? The death penalty. 5 of them were hanged. What did people want further? They wanted death penalty for all rapists. And so there was a law that was passed that rape together with murder will lead to the death penalty. We didn't stop there. In a rare moment of consensus, the BJP and the Congress agreed that in the rarest of the rare case, there should even be chemical castration of rapists. And that was a debate in Parliament. Let us not fool ourselves, ladies and gentlemen. Demands for chemical castration and death penalty are not demands for justice. They are demands for a barbarism of the rapist to be countered by the state-sponsored barbarism of the death penalty and castration. So you can ask me, what is justice? So if you were to go back to Aristotle broadly said that justice essentially means fairness. But when the NDA government in its second term slashed the corporate tax rate from 30% to 22%, largely in the media, despite the fact that the income tax for the salaried classes remained high, largely in the media, did we all stand up and say that this is injustice? No. It was lauded for saying that this is facilitating ease of doing business. Again, when the same government brought in an economic weaker sections quota, 10% quota for poor people, whether they were Hindus, Muslims or Christians, as long as they were not beneficiaries of reservation. This was a poverty alleviation measure, but it was widely criticized as an upper caste quota, despite the fact that poor Muslims and Christians also got the benefit of this quota. I am not playing politics here, but the fact is we don't stand up for justice. We stand up when there is personal benefit. Now, Dr. Singhvi spoke about the justice system and how the justice system has failed to deliver, and he gave all the statistics, and I am not taking any issue with him there. But the fact is that even if someone were to still go to the justice system, what happens? As he said, 20% of subordinate judiciary positions are vacant, 30% of high court positions are vacant. Even if somebody does make it to the court, out of 665 district court complexes in the country, 100 of them do not even have a single toilet for women. So no one wants to go to court in the first place. And even if someone were to transcend that barrier, 1,028 rupees loss in daily earnings is what someone would get if they went to court, and possibly at the end of it all they would get is another tariq. Now, who would demand justice? Dr. Singhvi is wrong in one respect. There is one section that can demand justice and get justice delivered. With no disrespect, those who can afford Dr. Singhvi. That's one section who can do it. And he's brilliant. And the data shows very clearly, this is done by my own think tank, that when a senior advocate is taken in the Supreme Court, the chances of getting relief increase to 60%. Dr. Singhvi does a lot of pro bono cases, and we must laud him for that. But the statistical truth is that only the rich in India can demand and get justice delivered. The poor can only hope and pray for it. But ladies and gentlemen, we must expand this. We must expand this to look beyond the courts. And the reason we must go beyond the courts, and here Rajdeep, I will speak on topics that you know, is that justice isn't really about the courts. Justice should really be about what we are asking our elected representatives. And what are we asking our elected representatives? What are the issues that form the crux of the elections most of the time? In the lead up to the 2024 general elections, it was Ayodhya and the restoration of Hindu pride. Is that a demand for justice? I don't think I have to answer that rhetorical question. If we look at any state elections, and Rajdeep and Barkha are both here and they can talk about it till the cows come home. What is the issue? The issues are Kanya Shri, Bhagya Lakshmi, Larki Bahin. What are these issues? These issues are essentially demand for personal benefits which the governments of the day are responding with cash. We don't demand justice, ladies and gentlemen, of our elected representatives. We are now a state where we are rent seeking, we are demanding personal benefit. So what is, and I'll conclude with this, what is a demand for justice? It's not as if it doesn't happen all the time. But as the motion today says, it is not often demanded. There is an exception. As Dr. Sarkar said right in the beginning, the exception not far away is a genuine demand for justice by the junior doctors front after the Arghya hospital incident. That demand is not a demand that is only limited to fair trial and speedy trial of the accused. It is also a demand that government spend 4% of their GDP on public health care so that doctors have better facilities. It is also a demand that junior doctors are treated with dignity so that they don't have to sleep in their meeting rooms in public hospitals when they are on a night shift. It is a demand for respect. It is a demand for dignity. But ladies and gentlemen, that demand is being extinguished as we speak. It is a one-off. It doesn't happen often. Earlier this week, I saw that the junior doctors were marching from College Street to Shambazar, but no one was really talking about it. Ladies and gentlemen, that day, when demands like the Arghya case and the protests of the junior doctors happen often, that is the day when I will be happy to lose this debate. But that doesn't happen often, ladies and gentlemen. We are still at a stage where justice is not demanded. So till that time, since I am in Kolkata, I can't resist the temptation, and we have a debate on justice. Let us remember the words of Qazi Nazrul Islam, who said, মহাবিদ্রোহী রণক্লান্ত আমি সেই দিন হব শান্ত, যবে উৎপীড়িতের ক্রন্দন রোল আকাশে বাতাসে ধ্বনিবে না, অত্যাচারীর খড়গ কৃপান ভীম রণভূমে রণিবে না. On that ideal day, ladies and gentlemen, when justice is done, this side will win the debate. Till that time, today, I urge you to do this motion justice and defeat it comprehensively. Thank you.